Let's go in depth and talk about the thing that everybody's talking about. What to believe and what not to believe in Western North Carolina. And that buzzword we all know and love.
And misinformation.
Massive misinformation problem.
The misinformation out there.
Misinformation that we've been seeing.
This level of misinformation.
You can't stop misinformation.
I just talked about misinformation, disinformation.
I got a lot of emails about this sort of stuff. I'll read one I got from Angela. She wrote, I have heard that FEMA had turned trucks with supplies away with the threat of arrest if they proceed. Hopefully this is not true, but is it? Angela heard that story online, and there's lots just like it. Sometimes they come from someone who claims to be a witness. Other times it's a game of online telephone. Either way, FEMA hates it, says they're lies, and they're pretty worked up about it.
It's just, a shame that people are sitting home on their comfortable couches while we have thousands of people here on the ground that have left their own families to be able to help those in need.
FEMA posted a fact-check section to its website. The very last place that anyone who doesn't trust FEMA would go to look for the truth. Doesn't that seem a little out of touch to you? Alex thinks so. He said, who is the source for fact-checking? FEMA? Well, yeah. Why do you have a problem with that? Why don't you just trust them? Is it because FEMA has screwed up countless times in famous ways during some of the biggest disasters in history, with tons and tons of examples, like Hurricane Katrina in 2005? The White House admitted government officials lacked the ability to communicate with each other and coordinate a response. FEMA turned away doctors and blocked the delivery of supplies. In 2018, FEMA acknowledged its failures during the response to Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico, lacking staff and struggling to deliver supplies. In 2022, FEMA aid was delayed nearly 5 months for people hit by Hurricane Ian in North Carolina. And now we are getting story after story like this from the ground from people in Western North Carolina.
I'm telling you, we need you. We want you here. The hell with what FEMA says. The hell with what American Red Cross says. They're not here.
There are lots of videos like that, and we're watching them with FEMA's resume in our hands, remembering all the other times. In 2020, for instance, when historic wildfires destroyed thousands of homes in Oregon, a story I covered when I was living there, FEMA denied more than half of the requests for assistance. They denied 14,000 people, some for typos, but mostly because lots of those people didn't have resources or were confused or were dealing with rebuilding their entire lives. So much so that only 290 people of those 14,000 actually went ahead and filed an appeal. But when it comes to trust, FEMA doesn't mention that. You see, this kind of messaging never works. If every time you borrow the car, it comes back dinged up, and I have proof of you hitting curbs and scraping bumpers, you can't blame me for calling you out when I see a new dent, even if that one wasn't your fault. You got a bit of a reputation. The founder of PolitiFact was on Jon Stewart this week and put it this way.
One of the best things that government can do is tell us when it does not know something. Be honest with us.
Now wait, before we go any further, I want to get this out of the way. Trump, Vance, Harris, and Biden have been playing the messaging game too. If you ask Harris and Biden, FEMA's doing great, except for the lies from Trump and Vance. And if you ask Trump and Vance, FEMA is a disaster, along with the lies from Harris and Biden. The typical, predictable, boring political narrative of extremes by two groups running for president. They bad, we good, simple as that. But wouldn't it make just a bit more sense if it was a little of both? Here's a local Republican from the area.
I'm not going to defend FEMA's honor. They've made a lot of mistakes. They continue to make a lot of mistakes in our recovery efforts here. But I was simply finding that all of the rumor, the falsities were more getting in the way of us trying to help the people here in Western North Carolina recover from Helene.
You know what else is getting in the way? Towns washed away, roads destroyed, entire families who were killed, neighbors working with first responders and police from other cities, strangers from hours away, private pilots, the National Guard, soldiers from Fort Liberty, FEMA, the governor, the president, in a place with no power, no water, cell phones, internet, or gas. Does that seem easily manageable to you? Perhaps, just maybe, when faced with mountains washing away, mistakes will be made. There'll be a few miscommunications. So when you see this viral story of a pilot who said he was forced to stop rescue flights and threatened with arrest, it's not some big conspiracy. We covered the rescues that were happening like that for days, dozens of private pilots, story after story of dramatic rescue. Look at the bump in air traffic from the Ashe County Airport, from 5 flights a day to 150. Does that seem like help is being restricted? No. Maybe that helicopter pilot was taking too many risks and putting people in danger. Or maybe the guy who stopped him shouldn't have. Or maybe he misunderstood the orders he was given. Doesn't that seem more like real life than some complex conspiracy theory? Remember Angela's email? I have heard that FEMA had turned trucks with supplies away. It made me think of this story that I saw out of Florida. People in Treasure Island. They said that FEMA was keeping people from their homes, not letting them haul their stuff away, separating families. But then the reporter went in and did the story and explains why.
So here's the thing. We just talked to the PIO for Treasure Island. He says they're not trying to make people lug all their stuff back and forth a mile to their homes. They just can't let all these cars through and cause a traffic jam when they're trying to restore the power, fix the water grid, clear debris.
Look, misinformation, that word, misinformation, it's not going anywhere. Neither is flat out lying or manipulation. It's up to you to think rationally, to use common sense, to consider the whole story, and to maybe read a little more. Yes, it is a fact that sharing false claims about FEMA aid can cause problems with getting people to submit claims, but not nearly as much as poverty, lack of resources, legal guidance, or losing everything you've ever owned. So, if you're gonna share something, share this. It's that QR code we keep showing you, the one that'll take you to places to donate, ways you can help, and getting involved. Let me know what you think. And please, no one tell me that the government controls the weather and wants to secure precious metals or any of that kind of stuff. If you believe that, you're too far gone for this segment. Stick to TikTok, watch a Bond movie. I can't help you. Email dan@WRAL.com. Tell me what's on your mind, and we'll go in depth.
It's been a serious last 2 weeks. 2 weeks of Helene recovery in the North Carolina mountains, and the work is far from over. Thanks for joining us on this Friday evening. I'm Ashley Rowe.
And I'm Dan Haggerty. We do have a few updates on the relief response for you tonight and the progress that crews are making out there. The biggest cluster of power outages right now. Yeah, people are still without power. They remain in Buncombe County in Asheville. 25,000 customers still no power as of tonight. That's down, though, from hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of outages just last week.
In Rutherford County, the more than 1,100 people reported missing are now all accounted for. Plus, the town of Chimney Rock says DOT is getting close to reopening Main Street. The Rocky Broad River is starting to get back to normal.
The Tweetsy Railroad. So many people love this. It's going to be closed, we can tell you, for the rest of the fall season. The amusement park announced that they will reopen, though, on November 29th, just in time for the Christmas season.
And Concert for the Carolinas is officially sold out. That's the benefit show that will be put on by Luke Combs and Eric Church. The concert is at Bank of America Stadium on October 26th. Meantime, FEMA is setting up shop in our area as the recovery effort continues.
That's right. Hundreds of personnel now at the American Tobacco campus in Durham. WRAL's Monica Casey reports on what they'll be doing there.
The temporary FEMA office here in Durham is for support staff. There are resources available in Western North Carolina for people there. This space helps them coordinate. The 38,000 square foot space houses almost 200 employees. The office is donated by Duke. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas's photos from social media give a peek inside. Scott Seelig is the Associate Vice President for Real Estate at Duke. He tells me they were happy to do their part for Western North Carolina.
I think both everybody at Duke and everybody at American Tobacco and the Chamber of Commerce realized that speed was absolutely important. And so So they worked, we were making phone calls at 11 and 12:30 at night in order to make this happen.
Sea Lake says not only did all of the Durham partners work overtime to stand up the temporary offices, FEMA is also constantly going.
I think people don't realize that these FEMA people are working literally night and day, even from an administration standpoint. I was talking to FEMA, at 11:30, at 12:30 at night, and they were there answering the phone first or second ring. And so people need to realize they're really doing their job and they really care about what they do.
Duke is offering their offices to FEMA free of charge through December 1st. Reporting in Durham, Monica Casey, WRAL News.
I'm Keely Arthur in the Live Center. The North Carolina Attorney General's office telling us that they've received 308 complaints of price gouging in western North Carolina since the end of September when Hurricane Helene hit. They say Buncombe, Henderson, and Cleveland counties are where they're receiving the most complaints surrounding price hikes in groceries, hotels, and fuel. We know that Hurricane Helene put immense stress on the area, and sometimes businesses and industries are going to have to reasonably hike their prices to increase supply. What they cannot do is unreasonably raise the price of goods or services to profit from a state emergency. That's the difference there. Now, if you know somebody who is complaining about price gouging, or if you're in a state of emergency and you see it happening, we want you to report it on those numbers or the website on the bottom of your screen.
All right, Keely, thank you. Let's get you caught up now with